this is on.
It's live.
Live. Just a second. Let me just check. Yes, we are live.
Yeah.
So let me just check if there are any more people who are joining us. So, namaste and welcome to everybody who's joining us today. Just a second. I will close this. Yes. My name is. Why am I hearing myself? Okay, glitches. Namaste everyone and thank you for joining. My name is Vani Manoraj and on behalf of Chetna, I'll be moderating today's session. Today we'll be joined by Mr. Karthik R, with whom we'll be discussing ways to rewire our mind. I'm sure that sounds very interesting to each one of you. But before we begin, I would like to say a few words about Chetna and the good work that we've been doing. So please bear with me as I put on the presentation. Yes. So Chetna Conscious of Women was started by Mrs. Pragya Pandey, who is currently the member of NCPCR, that's National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. It has a mission to empower and enable women to become positive change agents in the society. Under the able guidance of Mrs. Jyoti Majumdar, who's the president of Chetna, Chetna works under the 5 verticals, namely health, education, safety, awareness, and empowerment. And we have various beneficiaries under these verticals. These verticals have various projects which try to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. As you can see on your screen, we have various projects. Health, we have Bhej Jag Bhej, where we speak with girls about menstruation and provide them advice and provide them with the information that they require to remain safe and healthy. We also conduct medical health camps. Under education, we have Masti Ki Pathshala and Ujjwal Bhavishya and personality development programs. With safety, we do Surakshit, self-defense training and gender sensitization of both boys and girls. Under the awareness program, we have various annual day functions where we take a theme and we create the whole program around that theme. And under the self-development program, empowerment program, we have self-development center through which we empower women to take up tailoring and knitting and then hold exhibitions where we put their products on sale and help them financially. Various of Chetna's program we have called very important ladies such as Nirmala Sitaraman, Sushma Swaraj, and Latika Kumar Mangalam, who have all appreciated the work that Chetna has been doing. Former president of Chetna include Mrs. Jyotika Karla, who is the member of National Human Rights Commission, and Dr. Indu Arneja, who is the director of Indian Institute for Healthcare Communication. Indu Arneja, if you've been following Chetna, you know she's been conducting various webinars for her. You can find the webinars on our Facebook page, those videos. Chetna Conscious of Women is a family, and we partner with various organizations to conduct our programs. In the end, I would really request you to follow our Facebook and Instagram page to know more about the work that we do, ways to join the good work, and also to be abreast about the upcoming events. Thank you so much. We now I would before I introduce the speaker for today, I would shortly like to say that we will be having an interactive session at the end of this program. So if you want to put in your questions which you want Karthik ji to answer, please put them in the comment section and we'll read them out at the end of the session. So Karthik ji,
Hmm.
Karthik R started his career as a software engineer and then later progressed to a position of senior consultant at Audi Automobiles. He then started his own brand called NLP Academy and has been conducting training in traditional Indian costumes with various corporate houses all across India. He's an internationally certified master trainer of NLP, that's neuro linguistic programming and hypnosis. And I'm sure he would be grateful. We are going to be grateful to hear from him about what NLP stands about. He's also a life coach. Karthik ji, thank you so much for joining with us. I
Thank
would like you to introduce to us the concept of NLP and what does it stand for?
Okay. So before going into the concept of NLP, so one thing we have to understand is we are programmable beings, and we are communicating beings, and we are also programmable beings. Meaning that we anyway communicate, and if we don't get anyone else to communicate, we communicate to ourselves. We talk to ourselves. We do a lot of self talks, which is what actually programs us, which we will be seeing in a while. And this is something that actually shapes us. So if you just think about yourself when you were 5 years old, you had certain set of goals, ambitions, what you wanted to do in life, a lot of things that you wanted to do, and certain things which actually triggered you, certain things that actually put you down. And if you look at a 5 year old, the things were different. When you were 10 years old, the things were different. And when you were 15 years old, those things were different, because on each layer of your life you are programmed. I would say that on a daily basis we are programming ourselves, consciously or unconsciously, knowingly or unknowingly. So what is NLP? NLP stands for neuro linguistic programming. So NLP says that any person can program themselves using the language. Neuro is for your mind, linguistics is for your language, and programming is how you program your mind using your language. So how the language can be used, or else how you can articulate your language to influence a person's life, of yourself or of others. So that is what NLP stands for, neuro linguistic programming. And this is something that developed in the United States in the 1970s. They just experimented a lot of people and then found out how certain things people were actually becoming super successful, and how some other people were actually struggling. So they just researched mostly on the people who were getting results and found out a common formula in all of them, and then they implemented it. I would say NLP was a discovered science than a invented science, because NLP was there even before NLP. People who were successful before NLP were actually practicing certain things within themselves. Those things were researched, and they just found out that most of these people were programming themselves and others using their language. So that is how NLP actually evolved. And as of now, it is a very big science. It's used in anything from sports, entrepreneurship to politics. Everywhere NLP is used. It has wide range of applications. Even top American agencies also use NLP in various ways. So that's about NLP in short.
So communication, if I'm to understand, communication and language is the
Mhm.
key to NLP. So
How
you
do
were
we?
gonna say,
Yeah, it's okay.
how do we use the language to rewire our minds?
Exactly. So the point I was coming to say is, Robert Dills, one of the pioneers of NLP, used to say that more than anything that happens to us, the language that we use, the communication that we make to ourselves actually programs us. So which we will be seeing in depth in a while. But even if you ask me, by whatever I have experimented after I have learned NLP, mostly it's our language that influences us the most, because I'm also coaching a lot of people. I'm coaching about 6 entrepreneurs all around the world. I'm also coaching 2 teenagers who are children of certain entrepreneurs in India. And all those people have found one thing: the language that they talk to themselves, actually that influences them a lot. So yeah, language influences people, and that is how we program people also.
So
Yes.
how do we use NLP
Mhm.
to work on the path to self-development, to know more about ourselves?
Okay, so that's a great question. Thank you for asking that, because self development is all about NLP, and NLP is all about self development. So how we do that, it's something that we have to know. Now, let me just go into something very basic. So, we are programmable beings, as I told already, and we are also communicating beings. So, if we have someone to communicate, we communicate. Else, at least we communicate to ourselves. So, people who call themselves introvert, they also are communicating. They communicate to themselves. And if you go by NLP's learning, there is no introvert and extrovert. Just that some people are comfortable in some environment, and some people are less comfortable in some environment. So, that is all that matters in terms of whatever how we see. And yeah, certain people are in a way introverts, so even if they are in a way introvert, they are communicating to themselves. And when you communicate to yourselves, mostly it is in terms of questions. Let us take the current situation of COVID that is happening. So I'm a trainer and I'm also a life coach. So we do go on a one-on-one session all around the world, and mostly it is online, even back then. And we also do trainings, and trainings are mostly offline. We do offline trainings. Now after the COVID situation, the training thing came down. So a lot of trainers started to ask themselves, these are big names in terms of training. They started to ask themselves, "Are yaar, abhi, this everything is going down, or what will happen?" So see, what you have to know is, whenever you ask yourself a question, you will get an answer. If you ask, you are always answered. And you ask yourself the question, ki, "Are yaar, abhi kya hoga? What will happen after this? People will not come." You'll get an answer to it, that people will not come, you will not get business, you will lose business. So whenever you're getting an answer, you are going to get a associated feeling to that. So when you're going to ask a question, why are these things happening and what is going to happen after this? The answers may be something like, maybe business may not flow, maybe I may lose money. So with that, there will be a feeling that is generated. You can call it as anxiety or else as stress. Anything that you want, you can call it. So whenever you're getting these feelings, the activity you're going to do is going to be based on the feelings. In NLP terms, we call something as thoughts, feelings, actions, results. People usually think, if अगर आप अच्छे अच्छे सोचते हैं तो अच्छे अच्छे काम होता है, लेकिन it is actually a bit different. If you have good thoughts, it's well and good, but if your thoughts are not backed up with good feelings, actions will not flow. For example, let us say that you just go and ask a bunch of people how many of them want to become rich. Everyone will raise their hand, or there will be sometimes some yogis who will not raise their hand. So if you ask them a second question, how many of you want to be actually healthy in life, then at least for this question, a lot of people will raise their hand, and they will say that, hi, everyone wants to be healthy. And if you ask them how many people actually take results, actions to get those results, very few people will be doing that. And you just go and look into their feelings, there will be something wrong with it. Let us say someone came and told, saw your pulse and told that if you don't exercise for the next few days, you're going to die. In that case, there will be feeling in you, right? So you'll have a thought that, I have to be healthy. Now you have a feeling to you that it is a sense of urgency that gets generated in you, and you automatically go and do your exercises. That's why they say that the most set New Year goal is that I want to get fit, or else I want to lose weight. This is the most set New Year goal. And if you just go and look at the track record of that goal, if you just take goal as a concept, it is just 2 to 3% of people have succeeded in doing that. All the others have just told it. And I don't know if you know this concept of gym donors. Do you know this concept of gym donors? No?
Yeah, they put the money into the gym, and then they
Exactly.
won't go to the gym at all by the second month of their
Yeah.
membership. So they're donating their money.
Yeah. So once I was just coaching these people of fitness one, and they were saying, no, we have gym donors. I was asking, what is gym donor? They said, if the maximum capacity of the gym is 100 people, we will always take in 200 people, because we know at least 150 people will never show up after the first few days. And I know one of my clients from Singapore, he told, I never even stepped into the gym after paying the gym membership. I paid it on December 30th, and I thought that I will go on January 1st. January 1st, we partied, and then we never turned up to it. So the point here is, if you are not programming yourself, if you are not having the required feelings to a thought, the actions never flow. If you have the essential feelings, then actions will flow inevitably. You don't even have to think about it. There are people who wake up and then first thing they go and do is yoga, or else the first thing they go and do is exercise immediately after brushing and bathing. So these are certain patterns. Now we will be discussing more about habits that people form in themselves, and most of these things are programmed using the questions that we ask ourselves. Now if I ask ourselves questions which are productive, you will get productive answers. Now let me just reframe the question that we asked. So COVID situation, the business was not coming. So some of the trainers started to ask, so what is that we have? What is that we want? We want very good business. What is that we can do? We can develop an online platform. So what is that we have to do for that? We have to go and get a Zoom membership, or else we can go and get a Google meeting membership, or else if nothing is possible, I'll just do a Facebook live and connect to people. People will know what I'm doing, and they started connecting. The reason is because the why action flowed for those people and not for the people who asked, "Are Baba, abhi to COVID ho gaya, I'm going to lose my business." The reason is because the question was itself wrong, and the question was generating a negative feeling, whatever you call negative. For example, it was generating anxiety, and when you have anxiety in you, जब आपके अंदर कुछ दर्द होता है, तो actions will be very difficult for you to take. Right, so you'll be really hard pressed to take action. But when you have a very good feeling in you, when you have excitement in you, when you have enthusiasm in you, action flows. So that's a very important thing. The questions that we ask ourselves is very important. So always notice what is the question that you are asking yourself. And if at all you are asking a question like अरे यार अभी ऐसे हो गया, मुझे क्या होने वाला है, always think about what is that you want in a particular situation. What is that you want? Someone was diagnosed by diabetes, or someone was diagnosed by cancer. You can always ask yourself, what is that I want? There are lots and lots of people who came out of cancer beautifully, not just survived it, dominated it, and just did beautiful things after cancer, because they thought, what is that I'm going to do after this? There's a beautiful story of this lady who actually got her both of her legs chopped up, and she just climbed Mount Everest, because on the bed she was saying that, okay, what is it I have to do? From here, I have to prove myself. I have to climb Mount Everest. From that bed, her journey started, and she just did it. So the questions that we ask ourselves are very, very important, because these questions will generate thoughts. These questions will also generate feelings. And when thoughts and feelings are coupled, actions will inevitably flow in the positive way or in the negative way. So if at all I'm going to think, "Arey Baba, COVID के बाद क्या होने वाला है? Will I get stuck?" Then I'll get an answer. हाँ, maybe chances are there. Then I'll get a feeling. Then my actions will be going to the bed and slogging all day, thinking that अरे यार अभी तो खत्म हो गया सब कुछ. Or if I think that what is that I want to do, then again I will have a set of answers which will give me a set of feelings, which will give me a set of actions, which will be highly productive, and I'll get a lot of results. So yes, language programs us. If you want to reprogram yourself, first look at the questions that you're going to ask yourself. Look at the answers that you're going to get for it. So always ask yourself productive question. Always in any situation, ask yourself, what is that I want in this situation? What is that I should do to get these results? So that is something that can get you tremendous results in life. Yes.
So another question. We'll do the habits later, but the
Uh-huh.
first realize is it's about focus,
Yeah.
right? Ask questions to get the focus and be able to succeed. So what kind of questions should we be asking to achieve that? To achieve that discipline or focus? Tell a little bit about that.
Okay. Fantastic question again. So this is something that we do in coaching. Coaching itself moves on the basis of questions. So and it also moves on the basis of focus. So how we get a person to be focused on what they want is, there are many different ways. We have a set of questions called as outcome frame question. So in any situation, whenever a person wants to move towards anything in success in life, there are a set of questions. So the first question we ask the person is, what is that you want? Okay, well, let us say that I'm coaching an entrepreneur who wants to move his business from $1 million to $10 million, or else from $10 million to $100 million. The questions that we ask, this, by the way, I'm just taking the entrepreneurship as a concept. There are many people who have, we as coach sports people who want to go from the state level to national level, from national level to Olympics, or else there are people, students who wanted to crack the IAS exam. For all of them, the questions are going to be the same. I'm just taking a context. So let us take the entrepreneurial concept. I asked them the question, okay, what is that you want? Okay, the person says that I want to move my business from 10 million to 100 million. Fine. So when do you want what you want? The time is very important. I wanted this to happen in the next 1 year. Fantastic. Okay. Now, what are the resources that you have that can help you achieve that? So I have these resources. And how will you know that you have reached there? How will you know what is a milestone that will let you know that you have reached there? Now the person will define the milestones that they have reached there. And you also ask them, is there any other resources you may have to acquire from outside? the person can give you a set of resources. You can always ask the person what will happen when you reach over there. What are things that will happen to you when you reach over there. So these are certain questions that you can ask. And the last question we ask in a coaching session is, okay, fantastic, we got a lot of answers. No, we knew what is that we have to do, how is that we will have to do it, what are the resources, how we can organize the resources. Everything is fantastic. Now the last golden question is, what is that I'm going to start doing today to get what I want? Okay, let us say that someone wants to become a millionaire, or else someone wants to turn out his business to be $100 billion business. Fantastic. But what is that you're going to? What is the first step that you are going to start doing today? It can be anything from just looking for the domain for your website, or else just starting to browse more about the business that you're going to do, or else just meeting more people, networking more, marketing more, selling more, whatsoever it is. So, what is the first thing that you're going to do? So these are set of questions that anyone can ask. I'll just reiterate the questions. The first one is, what is that I want in life? Okay, what is that I want right now? So the second thing is, when do I want what I want? And you can ask the third question as, how will I know that I have reached there? This is something called as evidence framing in terms of NLP, how you will know your milestones. And then you can ask yourself, okay, what will happen when you reach there? This again is another evidence that you are setting to yourself. And what are the resources you have? What are the external resources that you may have to acquire? Maybe meaning that you don't have certain resources, let us say, then what are the things that you will have to acquire? And then how will you organize your resources? And finally, what is that you are going to do right now to get what you want? So these are certain things that you can, arrange the certain questions. If you don't want to attend a life coach session, well and good, just write down these questions in any situation, answer these questions. Writing is very, very important for these questions. Actually, it is not just reading this question and answering it. Writing has a profound effect, which most people don't realize. Successful people actually write down their daily schedule, and they also sometimes write a journal for themselves. So what happens? Why writing is very important? See, when you're thinking about something, when you're answering this question, your prefrontal cortex, so this is called as your frontal lobe, the front part of your brain is called as frontal lobe. So this part actually gets a lot of activity into it whenever a person is in the thought process. So when you are writing it, your motor cortex, which is almost in between, you can say between these two, it gets activated. And when these two gets activated, your emotional part of your brain, the limbic system and the other things, amygdala and all those things, they also get activated. And as I already told, when your thoughts are coupled with feelings, your action flows. So that is what happens. So write, by all means, just write down these questions that I asked and then answer yourself. You will find that there is a profound clarity before and after. So these are the things that you can, and your focus and your clarity will be so sharp that you will be like, "Arey yaar, मैंने पहले ही ये question क्यों नहीं पूछा?" So even if you had, a lot of people say that, man, these were just set of 7 questions. Why the hell did I ever ask these questions? So just these questions can actually take you to a level of more clarity and focus than before. Yes, Vani.
Summarizing this very beautifully put questions. So we have to ask very specific questions first, and we need to write those questions down to ensure that we get those feelings and we are very clear on what steps we have to take, and then jot down that first step that we can take so that we can keep going and then figuring out the next step to achieve that goal. So
Exactly.
does this also work for habits, or is the science of habits and the way to change habits a bit different?
You can start changing a habit through this way. To change a habit, so habit is something that you have programmed yourself to do, that you do without your knowledge. If you ask everyone, did they brush in the morning? Everyone will say, yes, we brushed. And if you go and ask them, did they actually take an oath yesterday night that kal subah jab main jagunga to pehle cheez mein brush karunga ya fir brush karungi? No one would have taken that oath, but still you do it. Habits are something that you program yourself to do. You do it without your knowledge. You just get habitual. When people say they are habitual smokers, habitual eaters, so they just do things without their knowledge. It's a very, very powerful thing. Now, it's nothing right or wrong. See, let's say that you get into the habit of waking up in the morning at 4:30 and then doing your yoga. Wouldn't that be an amazing thing to do? You get into the habit of managing your finances, micromanaging your business. Wouldn't it be a great thing to do? So there are great things actually in terms of habit, but unfortunately, most of the time, without our knowledge, we just fall into habits which are not that productive. and people name themselves in a different way. Like I had one of the clients last week who said that, Karthik, you know what, I'm a procrastinator, can you just change me from that? So now this is a very hard language actually. When person identifies themselves being a procrastinator, there is a very big difference saying that I procrastinate and saying that I'm a procrastinator. The same way as saying that I have diabetes and saying that I am diabetic. When you say I am diabetic, you are labeling yourself on an identity level. When you say that I have diabetes, that is something that you have. You can drop it, you can take it, or else you can do anything to it. But when you are diabetic, वो तो change ही नहीं कर सकते हम, क्योंकि that is what we are. We just believe, we just start believing that. So that is one very important thing. We have to label ourselves in a very productive way. So habits, after a point of time, start to label ourselves. So we have to be habit on that. So habit changing process starts with these questions, but we just go inside and do a lot of other things, because it's not a one day process that you learn the habit. And most probably sometimes it will be a repeated thing. There are people who have come for a program, they just did one something, and then they just totally got out of their habit of smoking, nail biting, or else doing something, some OCD. It has happened, but sometimes it just takes a little bit more effort. To understand it, actually, we will have to understand the science of habit. The science of habit is very simple. Any habit that you do, any habit that you do can be broken down into three parts. The one, that will be a trigger. There will be a trigger that triggers that habit. Okay. And then there will be a routine that you will have to follow. Finally, you will get a relief or else a reward for that habit. So basically, it is a trigger, a routine, and a reward. A habit is all about these three things, just these three things. And I'll give you some practical example. Someone is a smoker. Okay, he believes that he's a smoker, or else he's a smoker, let's say. So, boss, he's working in a sales organization. The boss says something very offensive and he just couldn't take it. He's now furious, frustrated. So, now that is a trigger. Now the trigger has happened. Okay. The trigger has happened. Now the person goes to the next level of routine. Now the person goes and he just calls some of his friends and goes and smokes. Basically, the person is doing pranayama with something on his hand. Deep breathing, deep inhalation, and deep exhalation. Breathing practice for that. And just that the person didn't know actually there is something like pranayama. So someone taught him this is the pranayama, real thing. Now he's smoking, and after a point of time, when he's smoking, either when he's talking to his friends or else the chemical that is involved in smoking releases certain hormones in his mind, which is called as dopamine. And he feels a little bit happy. That is a reward that he gets, and he just starts going towards something else. So this is the actually chain for anything else. I have worked with a lot of nail biters. So nail biters, the trigger is they will be usually just looking at their nail like this, or else they will be scratching their nail on their cloth and seeing the tariyar nail, or else they will be just feeling the nail with the other hand. Okay, and this is the trigger. So what is the routine? Taking the nail towards their mouth. And what is the reward? After everything is done, they will again feel it, or else again they will just do this. Again, or else they will try to pick up. Okay, abhi to theek hai. So that is a reward that you are getting. So if the beautiful thing over here is when they research over habit, if the trigger and reward are the same and you change the routine, your mind will still be happy with it. Okay. You can hack into your brain in thousands of different ways. This is one of the way. You just have the same trigger and you have the same reward and you change the routine. Let us say boss scolds and suddenly you have a different routine. You just go and call 10 of your friends and bash your boss, or else you just call your girlfriend or your wife and you talk to her about the office situation, and then you make some fun of your boss. If you change that, and then automatically you are going to laugh and do things, dopamine is going to be secreted. Now your brain is getting repatterned to do something else. Okay, most of these things are not actually just psychological, they are physiological. You remember the questions that I told that you can ask yourself, what is that I want, and all those things, and even the 7 set of questions that I told, these release a hormone in your brain which is called as dopamine. Dopamine is something that is responsible for all your small stimulations and small happiness that you get. So let's say that you're hungry and you see a plate full of fruits or else a plate full of sweets, full of spicy food, whatever you like. And yes, after you eat, you will get energy. But even before you eat, you become energetic, super energetic. You start, feeling very good into yourself. That is dopamine. So dopamine is the very hormone that is responsible for all these things. If you reprogram yourself and still if dopamine is secreting, your mind will accept it. and you can hack into your brain. So one of the programs that we do is called as brain hacks. So where we teach people all these beautiful small things, and we give live demos also how people can do it. So habit, yes, it starts with these questions, but you can go in depth and do something more also for it. And basically, as I told you, this follows these routines. Any habit that you talk about will have these three routines. And if you just keep the trigger and the reward part the same, you can always change the routine part, and your mind will still accept it.
Okay, thank you. That was great. So now we know the hacks that we can use to change our habits.
Mhm,
Another thing that I know is on everybody's mind is skills.
mhm,
After COVID-19 ends,
mhm,
what skills do you think would a professional or a student
mhm,
require to succeed, and how do we go about identifying those skills and
mhm,
learning those skills? Because I know there are so many skills out there. You have various platforms, online platforms, and webinars telling you you need to learn this, you need to learn that. But
mhm.
how do we learn important skills that will help us succeed rather
Mhm.
than tertiary skills that may or may not?
Okay. That's a very vague question in certain ways, because when you talk about skills for a student, particularly when you just told, there are no, student itself is a very generalized term. You have students of law, you have students of medical practices, you have students of various fields. So they will have to acquire new skills according to whatever is there in their field, whatever they can do better. But by and large, there are certain skills that can be learned, that should be mastered. Actually, this is something that I always tell parents, and I actually try to implant this in children also, that there are certain skills that you will have to learn. You will have to just look around the world. If you just look at all those successful people, big people, let us take in terms of Elon Musk, or else Bill Gates, or else Steve Jobs, or else our own Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, these are not people who actually came up big because they had very good education and all those things, but they had sorted out certain things. They were very good in communication in certain ways, either internally or externally. You know, I usually give a lot of examples of our Prime Minister's speech, or else any successful politician, any successful businessman. If you notice, they are doing something internally, or else they are doing something externally that is influencing people. So you have to notice that these are communication skills, that that's something that you have to master yourself in, particularly in the current situation, because you are communicating to people. You are always, doing certain things. In the current generation, if you look, people are trying to communicate to each other in terms of Facebook, WhatsApp, TikTok, whatsoever it is. That's a mode of communication. So when you are trying to do it all the time, if you know how to do it effectively, if you know how to do it efficiently, that is something that can impact people a lot. Okay. Now there is something called as conversational hypnosis that we teach for students of NLP. So this is something of how you can articulate your words. The same concept, when said by two different people, would have sounded different to you, correct? No, it is not always it would be the same. If you just look at certain prominent, eminent personalities, let us say, take for example Sadhguru, the way he speaks, people connect to him. I was just literally mind blown. There are 3 fan pages of his in Pakistan. There is a Sadhguru Pakistan followers. I was like, अरे बारे ऐसे भी होता है. And there is one lady who is comparing him with another religious leader and saying that, see how shant he is, how cool he is, and all those things. So these are people who know how to articulate words, and today than ever, this is very, very important. So if students learn the art of communication, if they learn all those things that can be helpful in terms of negotiation, persuasion, and all those things, that will help them in the long run. Now, I personally graduated as a software engineer. Then I went on to work in the software engineering industry. I went on to be a training manager in ING Asia, and finally I worked in Audi as a senior consultant. If you look at all these three, they are totally unrelated domains, totally unrelated industries. I was a software engineer in Hewitt Associates, which was back then the number one HR outsourcing company. I was working in mainframe, and which was technical job in an IT industry, then training job in a banking insurance industry. Then I went on to be a pure sales job in a premium automobile, luxury automobile industry. So in all the places, I was able to crack through the interview and then go and sit over there and be successful there, only because I had good communication. So that's a very, very important thing. So people think that communication is just an icing on the cake. No, sometimes it is the cake. So buy the cake, eat the cake, be good communicators. There are many different ways of doing that. And before learning things, I will just tell you, if you actually want good content, sometimes it is even available on free on YouTube than you going and attending a program. Or else there are great content that is available at a much better cost. Just do your research before doing any of those things. So skill basis, you can do hundreds of different things, but if you don't have proper communication, you're not good, that those are not going to be useful. I'll This is my way of saying it to entrepreneurs, or else to trainers also. You have an amazing content and you don't know how to deliver it. Your content is going to be for no for use for nothing. You have an amazing content, you know how to deliver it, and still you don't know how to market it. Again, it is going to go for waste. So marketing and sales is number one thing that you have to do, you want to learn, if you have to be really good in whatever you're going to do, else you will be part of the herd. Yeah, so that is one skill, if I have a say on it. Yes.
So also I want to know how important is listening
Mhm.
in part of communication. Being a good orator, being able to speak what you have in your mind articulately is very important. But
Mhm.
how big a role does listening play, and how do we learn to be better listeners?
Okay, cool. So in terms of sales, I was working in sales and I was also a sales trainer. One thing I have always noticed is good salespeople, good communicators are always good listeners. People who sell big deals, they are not people who actually blabber around just like that. They are not people who are presenters. They are people who actually listen to the customer and actually close the deal. They gave that there was one of the salespersons who was mentoring me, so he told me this: Karthik, if you just listen to the person properly, he or she will tell you how to close the sale. So you have to listen properly. Unfortunately, a lot of people just are focused on delivering their content than listening to the participant. Let us say that Vani, you are asking me a question and I have to answer it. And if I'm answering it based on whatever I know or else whatever I understand, that's why even when I answered the last question, I just told that this is a very vague thing, but I'll just try to give my points on it. I am answering Vani as a person. I am not asking the question as a whole. You can never answer a question. You can only answer a questioner. So you have to be clear on it. So listening is very important. Even in terms of coaching, we always say coaching is not telling. Coaching is actually facilitating or else facilitating a person from point A to point B. It is like you are a driver. You are taking the person from point A to point B. And if you have to take a person from point A to point B, you have to know what is point A and what is point B is. This is where a lot of people struggle. They don't know actually where the client wants to go, and they end up somewhere else. The client is like, where am I? The coach is very happy that, okay, fantastic, we have got the results that we have got. No, it is not that simple. You have to know what the client wants. So listening is very important. How you can do it? Always be in a no knowing state. मुझे कुछ भी नहीं पता. Be in a blank slate. Okay. And when you listen things from being blank, lots and lots of clarity can come, because when you're blank you have to get clarity. So one of my friends just came and told, Karthik, I'm really frustrated. So me and another one of my friends was there. The other friend of mine was extremely compassionate. He just jumped up. So this fellow says that I'm extremely frustrated. He just jumps up and says that, Arey yaar, life is going to be like that only. Life is never going to treat you fairly. Why you take so much of pressure, yaar? Relax, chill out. Go and let us go and have some good milkshakes in the corner shop. This, that, and everything. And the person is like, क्यों इतना pressure लेने का? I was just saying that I was frustrated because I couldn't open the Coca-Cola bottle. So very simple. He was not listening. This fellow actually, he listened to partially whatever that person said and imagine the rest of it. So if at all he had been in a no knowing state, that would have been a question. Okay, tell me what is that you are frustrated on. Now that would have got a lot of clarity. It was just a matter of giving him a bottle opener. And this conversation went to something of, a big bashan of the concepts of life and everything. So listening is the key skill in terms of selling. Questioning is the second very important skill that we would say. And your communication comes third. Whatever you are presenting, going and present, your presentation skill comes third. So if you want to be really good, be good listeners. And if you want to be good listeners, be always in a no knowing state. Whenever you are going into something, just think that you don't know anything about it. And when you know that, automatically you will start observing more. And that will give you amazing clarity for yourself. Because as a coach, when we go and coach people, first of all, we have to have more clarity. This is like a driver itself himself is blind, then you're going to be ending up in nowhere. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's about it.
Thank you so much. We now wait for questions to come in,
Uh-huh.
which they haven't. Uh, but I do have some questions of my own. So we have
Yeah.
now moved on to the interactive session. To everybody who's watching, please send in your questions on the comment section. The first question I have for you is passion.
Mm-hmm.
Passion is such an ambiguous word. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
go on Instagram, you go on Facebook, you go on TED Talks and webinars, and everybody will tell you, go follow your passion. But the
Mm-hmm.
first question that comes to my mind is, how do I know or identify what my passion is? What
Cool.
are those things which will tell me, okay, this is my passion?
Mm-hmm.
And how do I know that this is something that I can follow? So,
Okay.
what would you advise to people on how to identify your passions and
Mhm.
how to make them into a successful venture if you want to pursue that?
Cool. So that's two questions over there, if I'm right. One is that how do you find your passion, and how do you actually drive your passion? Both.
Yes.
Very important questions, and especially for the current generation, it's very very important, where people have so much opportunities that the last generations never had. Actually, generation to generation, it's just going more, and with a lot of opportunities also comes a lot of competition. That is something that you have to remember. Like in Spider-Man, there's a dialogue: with great power comes great responsibility. The same way, with great opportunities also comes great competition. It is a part and parcel of the package that happens. We never had this much opportunities, and we also didn't have this much competition. And I would say that basically I'm based out in Kanyakumari, and I go all around India, and I have clients all over the world. And I guess I'm the starter over here. I don't know any other person who is doing whatever I'm doing over here. But that's an advantage, and there's a disadvantage also tomorrow if it becomes a very big market of its own. Okay, now coming back to passion. If you just look at this word passion, a lot of people actually drive on it: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or else wherever you go. Passion, passion, passion is something that you have to follow your passion, this and that. And a lot of people talk a lot about it. Now, what is passion, or else how do you identify your passion? Okay, I told you that I started my career as a software engineer, then moved on to the training industry, right? So when I just moved out to the training industry, it was just a spark that was in me that Ariyar, I'm not a person who has to sit in front of computer. I'm a person who should be meeting people and who should be transforming people's life. This was a fire that I had in myself. Now, how did I realize if it was right? So the moment I joined ING, it was on a no meteor time, and people were a bit busy. And the HR who collected my paper in Chennai, she just went for her own marriage, and she was on a long leave, 2.5 months leave. And because of that, I didn't get salary for 3 months. So meaning I was working without salary for 3 months, and I was actually enjoying those 3 months. Yeah, I didn't get a salary. It was not that everything was flowery, but I was actually enjoying it. So it was not a 9 to 5 job. I was almost doing it 9 to 9 and without a salary. So a lot of people who are in the office were confused. "Arey, why are you doing this?" I told that, yeah, I'm just moving towards the formalities of getting things processed. That's a different thing. But as of now, I've got something that always wanted to do. So that was, then I just realized, okay, this is passion. Now, when I'm doing life coaching, when people come and ask to me, how do I identify my passion, or what is that I actually have to do with life? I have something for them. You just ask yourself again, it is about question. What if there is no chance of failure? What is that I will do? Okay, this is the first question. Most people don't even start something because they think that, अरे अगर मैं fail हो गया तो. No, there is, if there is one statement that has killed most of the dream, is not even this. It is लोग क्या बोलेंगे? What will people think? You know, it's so crazy. First time when I started, when I said that I'm going to be a life coach, I'm going to be a corporate trainer and international trainer, people in my place, they never understood. Kanyakumari is a small town, people never understood it. And my wife was like, "Arey yaar, nahi, aise nahi karna hai. We have to do something that people actually understand." So even when we wanted to find a house for rent, so my wife would always talk to the person, and the person will ask, "What is your husband doing?" So she will say that he's a trainer. People will be like, "Oh, driver." And she's like, "No, no, trainer." So she had to make them understand. So this is something that no one here actually knew. So people, there's a heavy chance of failure. So if I remove that, I actually removed that initially. What if there is no chance of failure? Okay, so this is something that I learned from my mentor, Mr. Vikram Dar. Vikram Dar is he's as of now in Bangalore, and he's a person who takes NLP all over the world. An amazing, amazing personality. So what if there is no chance of failure? What is that you will choose? First question. And second question, what if there is no restriction of time and money? I have time and money in abundance. Then what is that I will choose? Again, most people don't even get started on something because they think इसमें बहुत टाइम लगेगा यार मैं मुझे एक्सपर्ट होने पे बहुत टाइम लगेगा or else a lot of money should be invested. What if there is no restriction of time and money? What is that I will be doing right then? And the third most important question, what if I have only a year to live and I have to leave a legacy behind in terms of whatever I was doing? What is that I will choose to do? Okay, अभी मेरे पास बहुत टाइम है ये सोच सोचकर we don't do a lot of things. People almost live life as if they are immortals. You have limited amount of time. Our package is running low, and every single day is an opportunity. We don't realize it. So you have to ask yourself the question: what if I have just 1, 2, or 5 years to live? What is it I want to leave back as a legacy? What is the impact that I'm going to give to the society? That's a very, very important thing that you can ask yourself. You just ask yourself these three questions, and you will get an answer. That is your passion. That is something that you will have to do for your life. So if you do something that you love, you will never work a single day. So a couple of months back, someone asked me, Karthik, can we do a session tomorrow? But it is Sunday. Is it okay for you? So I was telling that person, it has been a Sunday for the last 5 years for me. So when you enjoy your work so much, you just are in love with it so much. It's never work. It's actually money is always a byproduct. You will get if you work for money, you will earn money. But if you work for your passion and you actually invent certain things, money will be a byproduct. You will earn huge money, but it'll take time. You will earn huge money, and it will be a byproduct always. That's a very beautiful thing. That's something that I want every single person to experience. So identify your passion, ask yourself these three questions, and you will get an answer. And then you can move forward.
Okay, so that was great because we now identify our passion, but then
Mhm.
we also have courage to follow our dreams. And I think your LinkedIn post titled "Should You Follow Your Dream," where you said that we need to stop playing the victim game.
Mhm.
So tell more about this mindset that we have where we play the victim game, and how do we get that courage that after identifying our passion, how do we stop our mind from being scared and then going ahead with
Cool. So that was a fantastic question again. And before that, I just remember that there was a second part of the question that I am to answer, a small part. How do you go through your passion? See, one thing is passion is very addictive thing. Lots of youngsters, particularly in the current generation, which we call sometimes as millennial or as no generation X, whatsoever we call them. They are finding a very hard time to cope up to situations. Let us say that this is something that HRs of companies, when I go for corporate companies, they say, Karthik, the toughest thing that we are finding is that how to keep people in the company. Do you have some training for that? The reason they are asking that is because they actually find it hard to recruit a person. And when they recruit a person, the person is not staying into the company for a longer duration. This one lady HR told me, कुछ भी बोल दो इनसे ये लोग बोलते हैं कि हम वी क्विट द कंपनी आई क्विट द कंपनी एंड उसके बाद यू गो एंड ऑन द एक्सिट इंटरव्यू आस्क व्हाट इज इट यू आर गोइंग टू डू दे से दैट मैं ना मुझे एंटरप्रेन्योर बनना है यू आस्क देम डू यू नो द स्पेलिंग ऑफ एंटरप्रेन्योर दे से आपको पता है एंटरप्रेन्योर बनने के लिए उसका स्पेलिंग मालूम पड़ना उतना जरूरी नहीं है यू जस्ट हैव टू हैव द पैशन इन यू I totally agree to this. Passion is very important than the spelling. But there are certain things that you will have to put forward. There are certain things that you will have to learn. The best way to do, if you ask me, always get a life coach if possible. That is the best thing. You can just a good one and you can go, or else get a consultant. That is another better thing. Mentor, if possible. That is another good way of doing it. Or else just do a structured plan to whatever you're going to do. As I told you these 7 questions that we discussed in the previous sections, these questions can give you clarity of how you can go towards the path. And one thing you have to realize is walking your passion or dream is not going to be a cakewalk. It is never going to be that easy. And I will, if I have to bless you with something, I will say that it should never be easy for you also, because it is never. It is like being a mother when you're an entrepreneur. Even I'm doing my own business. It's like being a mother. It is painful at times. Yes, it is never that it is a pleasurable thing. But if you ask a mother who is really a mother, nowadays we have all kind of mothers, so they will always say we endured and we enjoyed the pain. It was a beautiful, beautiful experience of 9 months that we had. That's something that we can never forget. So it is that you're a mother when you're an entrepreneur. You can never say that, हाँ आज ना मैं entrepreneur हूँ, आज 5 बजे के बाद मैं entrepreneur नहीं हूँ. When I talk to youngsters, I always say you become an entrepreneur not because you cannot work from 9 to 5 in a company. You become an entrepreneur because you can work from 9 to 12, matlab morning 9 to night 12 for yourself. You don't become an entrepreneur because you cannot face four people. चार लोगों के साथ में बात नहीं कर सकता. ये लोग मैनेजर ऐसे बोल रहा है, HR वैसे बोल रही है, मैं उसको सह नहीं सकता हूँ. It is not for that. You become an entrepreneur because you are willing to communicate to 400, 4,000, 4 million people. So that's a very important thing. That's where communication comes in. So just get your things sorted. That is a very, very important thing. Now, as you told, playing the blame game, that is something that comes most of the time. If Mahatma Gandhi had played the blame game in that railway station in South Africa, he would have been still Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. So my version of saying it is the moment that great person's ass hit the ground, and from there when he rose up, the ideas that came in him, that is what actually created a very big momentum. When Subhash Chandra Bose went through the country, whatever ideas that he could have always said, "Arey yaar, this is a filthy country," but he said that no, this is my country, which was great. I will just make it great again. The whatever ran in the mind of Swami Vivekananda, or else whatever that ran in the mind of any prominent personality that you can take, that is what matters. So always, this again comes to the first thing that we discussed, the questions that we ask to ourselves. If you notice it, many great personalities have evolved because of certain negative things that happened in their life. Okay, it is not that everything went on beautifully and then they turned out to be beautiful. You can talk about any personality in terms of business, in terms of innovation. That's why I told about Elon Musk. In terms of business, you can quote Dhirubhai Ambani in this situation. Not that everything was flowery in their life. Things were not actually that good. We just go and take the prominent personality that we speak in terms of epics. You can talk in terms of the life of Krishna, or else you can talk the life of Rama. It was not that much of a beautiful thing, but those people actually made it very beautiful. And if you look at the life of Elon Musk particularly, I don't know how many of you know here Elon Musk. So this is a person who designs projects which are not for the current generation, which is for at least 25 years from now. Very, very powerful innovator. One of his project is SpaceX. And initially people laughed at the SpaceX project. The project was like, यहाँ से अगर US जाना है, तो you will go in a rocket. You will not go in an aeroplane. So you will go there in about 1.5 hours and you will land there. Now everyone was laughing. अरे यार rocket तो ऐसे जाता है, लेकिन ऐसे दोबारा नहीं आता है. If you know, it just comes back as a shuttle or a pod, and it just doesn't come like this. So Elon Musk's project was to land the rocket like this. अगर वो dismantle हो जाता है, तो the transportation cost will be heavy. People laughed at him. But he always thought, okay, how do I make this come true? How do I make this come true? If he had asked himself, अरे यार इतने लोग मेरे बारे में ऐसे ऐसे बोल रहे हैं, लोग मेरे लिए support नहीं कर रहे हैं. Know this, when you become successful, people will always say that, you are us. And in the process, when you are going towards success, people will try to disown you also sometimes. If you're not ready to do all those things, always go with the herd. That is well and good. Sometimes when I speak to a group of people who want to be entrepreneurs, I always say this: everybody can become entrepreneur, but that doesn't mean that everybody has to become entrepreneurs. It's not going to be in cakewalk. If you're ready to endure that pain, it is well and good. So blaming or else just looking everything from a victimized mindset, as I already told, if Mahatma Gandhi had thought that अरे यार यहाँ तो बहुत racism है, दुनिया बहुत बुरी जगह है, Indian is never respected, the whole concept of whatever was created after that is gone. So just always just thinking in a victim mentality never helps. Why you call someone as Jesus Christ? Even when he was put on the cross, he just told, okay, let us forgive whomsoever did these things. They didn't know whatever they are doing. That is why you call him Jesus Christ. That is what you just bow down to him. So that's a phenomenal thing that happens to people. So a victimized mindset, it's by the way, the easiest way to live. Victimized, मेरे साथ ये सब कुछ हुआ, इसलिए मैं ये सब कुछ कर रहा हूँ. I'll just quote a small story here about a victimized mindset. In the Nazi war, when the World War was going on, there was one village which was actually invaded by the Nazi army, and then they actually killed a lot of people. In one particular household, the mother and father are dead. The sister and the brother, small sister, are there. Now, this sister is just about some 12 years of 13 years of age, and this chota wala is about 5 years of age. Children actually, after a point of time, they just forget everything and then they go into whatever they enjoy doing. So after everything was getting normal, these people looked around, no one was around. So they just came out to the street and saw that people were slowly gathering around and they were moving towards the railway station. Being children, they didn't know what to do. They also followed them. So when they went to the railway station, they were waiting for the train to come because they were said that the train will come and it will transport you. The train came, and when the train came, this sister was the train was coming from the far away distance. The sister saw it. She looked for the brother. The brother was nowhere. The brother was lost almost. So she just searched for the brother, and finally she finds the brother in a corner. The brother is playing with a ball. Okay, she gets furious on the brother and she beats him up and says that how dare you do it, stick on to me, this is the last thing I'm telling you, don't forget this. And the moment she says this, the train comes and stops, and from the train gets down the army people of the Nazi army, not their own country people. These people just pick up these two children, they put these two people in different compartments, one for male, one for female, and then they take them away. Okay. Now this girl actually goes to an prison, and then she comes out. It is almost 5 6 years after that only she comes out. Now she is a matured girl. The 13 years old who went inside now is 19 years old. She starts to search for her brother. The only thing that she could remember before the war, only beautiful soul who was with her. She wants to get in touch. Only relation that she can relate to. She wants to get in touch to her brother. She just goes looking for her brother. Now she's just looking for her brother. It's a very tedious search, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, and finally she just finds her brother. Brother's name, actually, not her brother. It is in the name of the people who were killed in the concentration camp. And such a tragic thing, you just remember the last thing that you spoke to him was very arrogantly spoken. The last thought you had, or last emotion you had was very bad. And she's totally broken. Oh my God, what are the words that I spoke that day? Had I known that those were the last words, what would I have done? Now, this can transform a person into a different level, but this person chose it in a totally different level. She said that now, from today, whatever I'm going to talk to any person, I'm going to talk to that person as if that is going to be the last thing that I'm going to speak to that person. And she transformed to be a very beautiful person. So, just because something bad happened to you and you actually following that and feeling guilty, feeling victimized about it, is not a right actually that you can execute. If you have a right, if you have a choice, what is that you should do? Always ask yourself these questions. What is that I want? What is that I want to do in this situation? And move forward. uh, Being blaming some other person for your failure and thinking that that will make you feel happy is just like closing your eyes and thinking that the whole world is going to be blind. No, you cannot drink poison and think that other person is going to die. So always think about what is that you want in life. Victimized mentality is never going to help. So just look forward and move forward, and get a life coach if you need, or else a mentor or a consultant. That is another thing that can help you a lot.
Thank you. That was a beautiful story. Uh, Tells us how we need to persevere.
Mhm.
And um and I think the next question is connected to this
Mhm.
because it's about being in the box.
Mhm.
बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि uh, we are in a space where we are angry,
Mhm.
where we self-doubt ourselves. The
Mhm.
questions we ask, they come back very negative, the answers that we give to ourselves.
Mhm.
And we don't even know we are in this space where we are very
Mhm.
negative and we see everything negatively. May it be because of the situation, the surrounding factors, or may it be because of a trigger.
Mhm.
What steps can we take? What language can we use to change our mindset so that we can move from this negative space to a more positive area and we can look at things more positively?
Okay. Cool. It's a very important thing that I discuss with whenever I'm coach a group of entrepreneurs, or else whenever I train a group of entrepreneurs. This is something that I always do. So if you notice, we are at different energy levels or a different state of mind in different points of even the day, not just your life journey, even the day. And this is very very important. If you are physically low, you will think that you are also emotionally low. Your mind doesn't know the difference between physicality and your internal states. It just doesn't know. It will just think that you are depressed. uh, the same part of your brain that stores physical warmthness also stores your emotional warmthness. When you see a person and say that I feel warm with him or with her, the same part of your brain is getting this reaction that will hold a cup of coffee and say that it is hot, warm, or cold. The same part is getting triggered. Now, what happens? Let us say some person has an amazing idea कि business ऐसे करना है, वैसे करना है, all those things, and he comes from the office totally tired, and then he or she starts to think about their business. जब हम बहुत टायर्ड होते हैं और फिर बिजनेस के बारे में सोचते हैं या फिर कुछ किसी भी काम, लेट अस से दैट आई वांट टू स्टार्ट अ वेरी बिग एनजीओ और आई एम वेरी ड्राइंड अप, एंड तब जाकर मैं सोच रहा हूँ बिजनेस के बारे में या फिर एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के बारे में या फिर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के बारे में, एनजीओ के बारे में मैं सोच रहा हूँ, तो ऑलवेज आई विल फील इट विल बी वेरी टफ यार, अरे यार बहुत मुश्किल होगा, नहीं होगा. The same thing, if you are highly energetic and then you start to think, you just saw a motivation video and then you start to think about your goal, you will be hyperactive and you will just start to think more productive things. So when you are in a box as you defined it, which you don't see as that much of a productive state, it is always better to go and sleep, get a good coffee to drink, or else just go and play outside, have a cold shower. These are certain things that you can do, and then start thinking, because whenever you are thinking about your concepts, life concepts, whatever you want to achieve in life, with a very bad physical energy situation, you will always feel as if it is too tough. Your mind doesn't know the difference between real and real, physicality and psychology. It doesn't know the difference. For it, everything is the same. I'll give you a small example here. You go to a movie theater. You're a very strong person. You consider yourself very strong. And in the movie theater, it is a very emotional movie. In the movie, the hero or the heroine sacrificed their life for the nation and they died. And everyone else is crying in the movie. Without your knowledge, tears start rolling down your cheeks, right? सो योर माइंड डजंट, वो तो आपको पता है, लॉजिकल माइंड को तो पता है अरे यार वो नहीं है, मतलब उसको पैसा दिया गया है इसलिए वो कर रहा है वो सब कुछ, बट योर emotional mind doesn't know the difference. In other words, your unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real and real. तो वो क्या करता है, वो सोचता है हाँ, when presented with evidence it will accept it. The same way, when you are totally weak, your unconscious mind is looking weak, मतलब emotionally be weak, and you think about something, you will actually generate a lot of negative emotions. So whenever you are feeling either emotionally or physically also, so let us say one day I am just talking to some friend, he just conveyed a bad news, that means I am actually in a very bad state. In those times, it is better to avoid whatever we are going to think in a productive way. It is better to take some rest, take a break, listen to a music, or else just go for a movie, go outside for a walk, do something that will actually take you out of that. And if you don't take yourself out of that, you are going to be stuck over there for a longer duration. So that's a very important thing that you have to do. In terms of psychology, there's a concept called as DABDA. So whenever something happens to you, first let us say that something bad, some bad news came to you. You just heard that someone that you loved passed away. Okay, this happened in here in Tamil Nadu when Abdul Kalam passed away. So first time when the news came, a lot of people said, "अरे यार ऐसे नहीं होगा यार, rumor होगा कुछ, ऐसे ही rumor चल रहा है बहुत दिन से, तो rumor होगा अब्दुल कलाम कैसे मर सकते हैं?" So that was denial. You are trying to deny. That is the first D. Then you go into a mode called as anger. You come to know, अरे यार अब्दुल कलाम इतना नेक बंदा था, वो कैसे मर गया? There are a lot of politicians who are corrupt. Why the hell they didn't die? So you just go into terms of an anger. How can this happen to him? Then you go into a situation called as bargaining, or sometimes some people consider this as betrayal, feeling of betrayal. So bargaining is you just try to get in terms with whatever it is, and then you slipped into something called as depression. DABDA. A lot of people get stuck over there. If you're not conscious enough, you will stay in the level of depression for longer duration than when you're conscious. So by the way, it is about slipping into it. If you slip into it anyway, you will have to work yourself out of it. So even as life coaches, or else you can call psychologists, psychiatrists, a lot of any person that you talk about, they slip into it, they just slip into it. They will have to work themselves out of it. And then comes the last stage of acceptance. Okay. So acceptance is the most important aspect over there. When Abdul Kalam died, some people never could come in terms with whatever happened. They actually grieved it for a longer duration. There are some youth who joined together and told that Abdul Kalam had beautiful dreams for the youth. So what we will do is we will just go and take a group of youth who are not able to afford education and we will just sponsor them. And some other people said that he was also talking about planting trees. I will plant this many million trees in the name of Dr. Abdul Kalam. And there are some other people who told that no, his dream was to make India 2020 possible. We will work towards that. So people who accepted moved forward. People who never accepted stayed back. So always be in a productive mind. If at all you are confined to a box, you are stuck because of something that happened negatively, or else it may be just that you are emotionally low. Always take a break and then start doing whatever you're doing. The very heart that runs from womb to tomb also sometimes had something called as deadbeat. मतलब वो भी rest लेता है. So take a break sometimes. It is very very important. My mentor Mr. Vikram there always used to say, as an entrepreneur you should have a manual off switch. क्योंकि आप एक माँ की तरफ हो कि आपको आप ये नहीं बोल सकते कि मैं ना सुबह का 9 बजे से 2 बजे तक माँ हूँ, उसके बाद ब्रेक लूंगी, उसके बाद 6 बजे तक माँ हूँ, उसके बाद माँ नहीं हूँ. माँ तो माँ ही है all the time. So I think day before yesterday was Mother's Day. So yeah, so it is a continual thing. You have to know when to take a break. You have to manually switch off. You will have to say that अभी ना इस time के बाद I will have to take a break and I will have to do something. So that is something that is very much required. If you need that, you can do that. Else, if you are confined to a box, always take a break. Whatever is a break for you. For me, break is actually doing an intense exercise, workout, and then going for a cold shower, which actually rewires me totally. अगर वो भी काम नहीं किया, go out for a walk or else just do something that is very much intriguing, like play with my son or something like that. So that is something that you can do than going around with it.
So the key point is making sure that your physical state is changes so that your mental state can also change, which is
Exactly.
connected with, so giving
It
your
is totally connected. I'll give you a small example over here. So we actually usually experiment with people. So we just tell them to think about their dreams, and then they just find it very hard. Then we get into a small activity in groups, and where people are intensely participating. After that, when people think, जैसे कि वो मेंटोस का एडवर्टाइजमेंट में आता है ना, दिमाग का बत्ती you know. So the same way the tube lights all spark up and then they think more about it. Or else if people are not who are not good coffee drinkers, give them a strong shot of coffee with lot of sugar, immediately their mental energy will go up and they will become super enthusiastic. So that is another thing. Yeah, the physical energy, so it matters a lot. Yes.
So this is very relevant because I know since everybody is at home, there's a lot of anxiety and
Mhm.
there are times when everybody goes into that negative space because of the uncertain future that we have. So this
Mhm.
is key that you change your physical state, do something that you would not normally do to change your mental state as well. So thank you so much,
Thank you.
Karthik. Another question
Mhm.
is for students
Mhm.
specifically,
Mhm.
people, students who are at the brink of starting their career. You
Uh-huh.
know, after coronavirus, it is going to be such an uncertain future where,
Yeah.
and there are already, economists who are,
By the way,
uh,
let me just pause over here. Future was always uncertain. It was never certain. We just think that it is not certain as of now. It was always the same. Yeah.
so, but now that there is so much of ambiguity of what's going to happen, whether there's going to be hiring, whether, what kind of field or professions are going to succeed, which won't, what
Mhm.
kind of advice would you give students who are at the brink of starting their careers on
Mhm.
what they can do to make the most of the time that they have now to prepare for the world after coronavirus?
Okay. The way I see it is students are much more better equipped than people who are in my age category, and I always respect them a lot for that. I derive a lot of my motivation from my coachee who are students. I coach two teenage students, and one is into sports and one is looking into being to become an entrepreneur. So they actually are much more better equipped. They have high energy levels and all those things. They will have to use that and know this one particular thing that the future was never certain. It was always uncertain, and every time things were evolving. Now this is a part of evolution. Yes, we evolved a bit more, or else we will have to evolve a bit more, but this is something that is happening for everyone. And if we evolve, if we adapt, there is new things that can happen. As I already told, get a lot of skills and get a lot of clarity into whatever you want to do. First of all, get to know what is that you want to do, and then things will be fine. Things can move forward in a very beautiful way. Focus is something that is very important. If at all you want to be a super success, as I already told, everyone can be an entrepreneur. Doesn't mean that everyone has to be an entrepreneur. Every person can be a peak performer. Doesn't mean that everyone has to be a peak performer. I'll give you this example of PV Sindhu. So there was one of these persons who attended my session who was working in that academy, same academy where she was getting trained. So he used to say that there was certain discipline that was being practiced there. Mostly we think that, even I was also there for a period of time. It is not that I'm just saying that nahi aaj ki bache aise. All of us would have been there, or else some of us would have known someone who was there in our generations also. Now people have more choices. People think that partying late night is really cool. Yeah, it may be cool. I don't deny that part. It may look so cool. 2 baje 3 baje tak party karna, naachna, ye sab kuch, yeah, it's good. Once in a while is good. If you do it all day, then you will get to know the results in a while. But the boss thing is being a boss. If you just think it from a boss point of view, waking up early morning is the boss thing. No, the cool thing can be doing whatever you want. The boss thing can be organizing your day and doing what is that you actually want. Thinking that you are not actually doing whatever you want, you are actually doing things which you are programmed to do without your knowledge. Because not everyone has to become that successful. Certain things are programmed in you. Now, in PV Sindhu's location, they just switch off all the lights at 9:30. You have to sleep, and at 3:30 they just switch on. No, 3:30 your training starts. You will. There's no choice. It may look so cruel to you, and actually, any sports person who is so serious going into Olympics or whatsoever it is, they have a strict diet. You cannot have a single biryani. A single biryani can ruin your months of practice. For you may think, "अरे यार इतना होता है क्या?" हाँ, she was not allowed to eat an ice cream till she no till the point she went and got that medal. Um, she never used. So this person said that she never even used smartphones for a long time. She was not never allowed into social media. You need that level of razor focus. Now, do we have to do all these things? Not necessarily. But if you need super success, you have to do something. If you're doing something that everyone else is doing, you will also get the same results and be happy with it. You so just get your priorities right. You do normal things, you will get normal results, and then you will have to be into that mentality that हाँ ठीक है यार, जो मिला वो तब तक ठीक है. अगर आपको खुद का दुनिया बनाना है तो कुछ तो बनाना है जो दूसरों नहीं बना रहे. जैसे कि routines, schedules, what is that you want to do? At least sit and write your goals कि क्या करना है, क्या नहीं करना है. And I genuinely believe that you people are much more equipped. You people are much more adaptive. The current generation particularly, जो भी चाहे आप कर सकते हैं. When TikTok came first, it was not that all the trainers and entrepreneurs went into it. It was the youth who went into it. And some people actually made money out of that in Instagram, in or whatsoever it is, in YouTube or whatsoever it is. So I have a huge trust in those terms. But apart from that, just get your clarity more into it and get to know this is a new normal, by the way. Whatever is happening as of now, the post-COVID situation, as they call it, this is going to be the new normal. I mean, I don't see any big meetings, conferences, trainings, programs happening for at least the next 3 months. Even after that, that will be restrictions and all those things. People themselves, even if everything is relaxed, people themselves will be very skeptic in terms of going outside. No, they will be very much thinking about what can happen, what cannot happen, and all those things. So just get used to it. And when you get used to it, you will get new ideas, and you will learn more. When you learn more, you will implement more. When you implement more, you will get better results. When you get better results, you will always learn more things and you will do better in life. That's all. I have a huge trust on this generation particularly.
Well, I know a lot of people after listening to your talk are going to be writing a lot of their questions and finding out answers. So the
Uh-huh.
last question I'll ask you is, uh, I read in your profile that you believe that there is no great team, but only strongly connected great individuals, and there's no great organization, but only a few strongly connected teams. Could you
Okay.
explain to me what this principle means and
Okay.
what it signifies?
Okay. So one particular thing people think of in terms of society, nation, and all those things, but it is mostly the individual that we will have to focus on. There is no country, but just a group of people. The same way there is no teams, there is only group of people, or there's no big company. There's just certain teams that perform well. Certain ideologies that you have driven into them. So that's a very important thing. How you program your people. There are many management terminologies here. The people say that the strength of a team is only as strong as the weakest person in the team. This, that, and a lot of other things. But just getting straight to the point of whatever we are, I just spoke over there. There is no great team, but just a group of individuals. Is because that is the truth. If you don't take care of individual people, there won't be any team. If you don't take care of team, there won't be big companies. Lots and lots of companies are example of this. If companies where the employees are aligned to the vision and mission statement, the companies perform amazingly well. Amazingly well. People, phenomenally well. People would have never thought that they would have achieved that. One good example I have from one of my trainings is Hotel Lemon Tree groups. So some of you would have heard about Hotel Lemon Tree group. So there was a girl from Radisson Blue. Radisson Blue is a much bigger group than Lemon Tree, but she was always proud whenever she said that, I worked in Lemon Tree. So I asked what happened. Why are you feeling so proud that you worked in Lemon Tree, and you're not that, you don't exhibit that passion when you say even Radisson Blue. So she was like, as of now, she is a vice president in one of the big bakery chains in Hyderabad. So she told me a small story. She told that in 2008, when the crisis happened, the company was in a very different situation, because first the IT real estate industry in US crashed. Because of that, the IT industry crashed. When the IT industry and the corporate industry crashed, because of that, the first thing to be affected were hotels. There were no conferences, no team lunches, no SMEs coming and visiting. So hotels were affected big time. And most of the big hotels were actually doing cost cutting, cost containment. They were giving it all the beautiful names, and they were basically firing people. Now Lemon Tree is a small hotel. They just had to do the same that other people are doing. Lemon Tree is always been projected as a company which is extremely employee friendly, that goes on the basis of certain ethics. There are certain company that goes on the basis of ethics. For example, Tata groups, they have certain ethics that they follow very strictly. Most companies which are super successful have them. Now, what happened to Lemon Tree? So they say that it is a family that we carry forward. They just don't say it. If they make every employee feel it, and every employee there works as a family. So what happened in the crisis situation is, when all the other companies were firing, the CEO calls for a meeting and says that, look, we know that it's a crisis, and we know every other company is firing, and we know that our finances are also not that great. We also will have to follow the same path. But in a family, when people are going through crisis, they don't kill a person just because they can't feed that person, right? They just share whatever is there. So he told that we will all share whatever we have right now. We will just cut our salaries in terms of percentage, and I promise you, whenever we come out of this crisis, I will give you back. Now, the point why Ujwala was so proud to say that she was from Lemon Tree, she told that some people, it took about 2.5 years for the company to come to into the profit routine, and when they came, some people had left the company in 2 years or 1.5 years. The company went and found out those people and transferred that money that was arrear for them, even in those times. Okay. Now imagine what would be the emotion in the mind of every individual employee. The company has actually deeply implanted a value system in that employees that was actually their value system. So until and unless you program the person that is working in your company in terms of your vision and mission statement, and you actually live your vision and mission statement, people are going to be working as just another company. And it is not, it's an easy thing to say for me right now. Abhi tak profit nahi tha, abhi itna profit aa gaya, so you will always want to celebrate it, you will always want to enjoy it. But going back 2.5 years and paying all those things that you did, that is a huge thing. बात करने के लिए तो बहुत आसान है ये सब कुछ, लेकिन काम में करने के लिए बहुत मुश्किल है. And those people did it, and that worked. So I've seen it in many companies, where companies actually groom individuals, company who actually focus on individuals, that has been successful. Company who run on a lot of MBA concepts actually end up in certain different directions. So yeah, in focusing on individual is very important. And that is one thing that I always believe. There is no country but just a group of individuals. If you think about India, we just think about a group of people. It is not the boundaries that mark us. We are people as such that we get marked. Yeah, there's a
That
question come up from Facebook also, by the way. Yeah. Over to you.
Okay. So the question is from Kirti Sharma. Sir,
Mhm.
regarding sleep regime, I've observed my productivity is optimal when it's absolutely quiet, which I find at night. Hence, I'm not able to wake up early. What can you advise in that case?
So, in a typical life coaching session, I would ask her, is it working for her? And if it is working for her, it is fine. So, some people, NLP believes that every person is unique. And as long as it is working for her, and as long as everything is going on fine, it is fine. Um, which is okay. By the way, the other way of looking at, there are other biological ways of looking into it. I once was coaching a cancer specialist and person who was a cancer surgeon. Okay. Now, this person told me that he was just going into some of the researches that one of his friend was doing. He was working in Apollo back then. I think still he's over there, Apollo Chennai. So he was saying that most people age faster not because of the food, not because of the activity, but because of light. And I was like, huh? Light se kya hota hai? So he told that you remember there was a Surya bulb advertisement that used to happen long back, and in that they used to say that we are replicating sun's light. So his way of saying is we were never supposed to replicate sun's light. You could have emulated moon's light. That is a different thing. You there the research went like this, that our biological cycle is based on the sun's setting and rising. So when the more you wake up or else the more you are awake after the sunset, after a point of time your body calculates it as a next day, and it just goes towards that. So singing yourself with the sun is the best way. That is what he told. So he told that there are a lot of concepts that we discussed. The light passes through the retina and then your mind diagnoses it into something, and then it thinks that it is a day, and a lot of those things. But as long as it is working for you, it is fine. And if it is working in a typical life coaching scenario, I would have asked this question: does it work for you? Yes, it was fine. And if it is no, then we will just look at certain things. Whatever is working for you, it is always well and good, but there is also biological reasons to it. So if you want, then there is a lot of ways to change. But apart from that, it is fine. My mentor, Mr. Vikram Dar, whom I was talking about a lot, he was a person who was getting coached by his mentor from UK, Mr. Michael Beale. So Michael Beale was coaching him, and he used to say sometimes it used to be till 3 in the morning, and he also finds it quiet at the night, and he used to work at night. He has changed as of now, but that's a different story. So back then that used to happen. It was working for him. So as long as it is working, it is fine. If it is not, then we will have to do something else. Yeah.
Uh, Also, I think another question pertaining to this is I know some people find it really hard to focus when there's a lot of noise around.
Hmm.
Is anything specifically that they can do in terms of habit or in terms of skill in which they can focus when there is noise, especially when we have parents and professionals who are at home working from home, they have their kids, and it's very difficult to work when you also have kids who are going to obviously make noise. So how do you increase your productivity in such environment?
No, this is about how we have programmed ourselves. I know a lot of people who actually get irritated by even the smallest noise. So if there is something happening in the background, they cannot focus, they cannot concentrate on whatever is happening. And there are a lot of other people who actually can focus and concentrate more in that situation. So if at all that is whatever you are like, always the simple ways, just than thinking complex things like programming your brain, always get a earbud that is going to cost you much less, and or else get a quiet place. That is the first thing that I would say. Apart from that, if you, what is the outcome that you want there? Do you really want to sit in a place and work in a noisy environment? Is that what you want? If that is what you want, you will have to program yourself. And it's a there is no general answer to this for any question that people ask. Like whatever I was asking for Kirti Sharma, again it was a very generic thing that I was talking about. So the same way, there is very generic thing that we are talking discussing here. But to be more specific, you can always look at what is the person wants and how we can program it. I'll give you the reason why I'm saying this. To take out anxiety from a person, there are at least some 4 to 5 methods that I know, and I practice this on my clients. The same method that is working amazingly for one person, that is giving a lot of results, may not be useful for some other person. Some other things may work. So you can never say that one person is getting disturbed by the audio ki iske liye ye karna hai, तो दूसरे के लिए भी यही करना है. That will be a very rudimentary way of looking at it. Every person is unique. Every person has their own ability of dealing with things. So हमें पता करना है कि क्यों हुआ था. किसी का इसलिए हुआ होगा क्योंकि जब वो छोटे थे तब कुछ हुआ था आवाज की वजह से, and from that point they cannot take a loud noise. That is a totally different issue. Some other people, they are just more focused on the things around, and they are not able to focus on the things on it. That's a totally different thing. And some other people actually they can find good places to go and read, but they want to actually sit in front of people and do it, and then they have to also complain. So we have to just look into all those scenarios and then find actually what is the answer. As I always say, we can answer a question, questioner, not a question. There's no generic question. So we will have to look into what the person wants. At the same time, there is a lot of solution. If a person wants solution, there is always a solution.
Kirti Sharma says, thank you so much for your insights. Wonderful
Thanks a
session.
lot for your questions.
So I think we come to the end of our session here. Everyone who's joined us today, if you want to contact Karthik sir, he's available on Facebook. We'll be sharing his profile. It's there on our Facebook post as well. And you can always contact him and ask him questions. And I'm sure he will be more than willing and happy to guide you, because I understand that every issue is very specific to the individual, and you need to know the history behind that rather than giving generic all applying solutions which might not work for everybody. So thank you so much, sir, for joining with us today. It was wonderful talking to you, learning about these various concepts and understanding a little bit about the way our brain works. I'm sure everybody is now is equipped to handle the next phase of this coronavirus pandemic and succeed after this uh, pandemic. Uh, Before we end, I would like to thank President of Chetna, Mrs. Jyoti Majumdar, and also founder of Chetna, Mrs. Pragya Parande, for their able guidance and support. I also would like to thank Ambika Bhan for her amazing creative skills in designing the poster for the event. Last but not the least, I'd like to thank everybody who's joined us. Thank you so much for your support and love. Do share your suggestions, feedbacks on our email. That's chetnafordelhi@gmail.com. Stay safe. Goodbye. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, sir. Have
Thank
a
you.
great day. Bye.
Thanks a lot, Vani, and thanks a lot to Pragya Didi, who actually made this possible. So she is a very good an example for me in many different ways, a very good inspiration for me in many different ways. So she actually lives her dream in many different ways. If you just talk to her, you will just come to know. So whatever she just thinks, she just actually gets it. And I've just quoted her example in many places. So an amazing personality for me. And thanks a lot to all of you, for whomsoever is in the team, for making this possible, and for making me reach out to a lot of people and tell them whatever actually that has to be told. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.